But let's move on to college football. We had this huge slate, this loaded Saturday. We missed some of the games, obviously, from my wedding. I hope you had a good time to make up for
It
it.
was aight. It was aight.
But yeah, we had two of the biggest games, I think, in the regular season, with Penn State hosting the Oregon Ducks at home under the lights in a whiteout game, and then Georgia hosting Bama in what was last year's game of the year, hosting Bama in a blackout environment for their under the lights game. So we had two really good primetime matchups. Let me just start with Penn State, Oregon. Penn State falls again to a top 10 ranked team, and at this point we overreacted a lot when Ryan Day keeps losing to Michigan, right? And everyone was on him. They were threatening his family at times, which was crazy.
I only sent a couple messages. I don't know why.
And they adjusted. He made changes. He made changes multiple times over the season when the defense was really bad against the Oregon, going on the road to Oregon. The defense was adjusted for the rest of that season and became the best defense in the nation. And then after the Michigan game, when he, stupidly ran it into the two best defensive players on Michigan's defensive line, they switched things up offensively for the playoff and absolutely stormed out of the gates and never looked back. I've just never seen Penn State adjust. James Franklin is now 4-21 versus top 10 teams, including 1-18 versus top 5 teams. They've been living in the top 10 without beating top 10 teams. It's an enigma to me because they do have a lot of talent on this team, but I'm just wondering, like, is James Franklin just not a good coach? Like, do they need to look elsewhere? Because what is the point of winning all these games if you can't beat actual competition? Yes, they handle their business against teams and programs that are lesser than them, that have less money, that have less talent. Sure, that's fine. He's got a lot of wins on his resume. I'm sure they'll bounce back against UCLA and Northwestern and even Iowa, but it doesn't matter when you're not going to beat Ohio State or even IU.
Remember that 4th and 5 halfback draw against Ohio State a few years ago?
Yes. I was thanking my lucky stars that happened.
That was hilarious. Yeah, I mean, that just kind of sums up everything. I mean, yeah, Franklin deserves a lot of blame for this. I don't think Drew Aller's very good.
No, he is overrated.
First round pick mock drafts I've seen are coming from. But I mean, first of all, credit to Oregon. I mean, no, we can make all the jokes we want about Penn State, James Franklin going into a whiteout Happy Valley. I mean, they still, this is just their second year in the Big Ten. It's probably the toughest road environment they've played in, and they got it done.
So impressive.
Oregon was, I mean, they were highly ranked, but they're still kind of an unknown going into this year if they'll carry the momentum they had the previous year, and it looks like they have.
Yeah, them and Ohio State lost more than 50% of their contributions from last year's teams. Like, they had so many players, graduate, go to the draft, whatnot. So very impressive victory for Oregon on the road, especially in a whiteout environment. And for Penn State, it's like you had everything in place. You finally got your game under the lights. You finally got your whiteout. You're not playing the big noon kickoff game that seems to always be put in these big matchups. Everything was laid out for you to win this game, and you lose 30-24 at home. Just if I were a Penn State fan, like, I'm not feeling too great about this season because there's a chance that they don't make the playoffs. I mean, they got 2 good games left on their schedule, and if they can't, I don't expect them to beat Ohio State, because as much as James Franklin doesn't do well against top 10 teams, he especially doesn't do well against Ohio State. That's his bugaboo. It's like Ryan Day against Michigan. So the IU game is going to be the most critical one.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to have to hope that IU loses also at Oregon. So there's a 2-loss. Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think at this point, this is assuming Penn State loses to Ohio State. Yeah, they're going to have to really hope that IU loses to Oregon, and they obviously beat IU. And so when you put their two resumes together and you see that Penn State beat IU, they get in. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Penn State's going to beat IU. I could see IU rolling into Happy Valley. I think that's the week after Ohio State too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
to be coming off a tough loss on the road and then have to have another top 10 ranked team, I think IU might be better than they were last year. I really like the Mendoza kid at QB. I think he might be better than O'Rourke that they had last year. Sneaky
I
team,
thought
IU.
last week taught me more about IU than the previous week because under Signetti, they've turned Memorial Stadium in Bloomington into like this house of horrors where teams just go in there and just lose the ability to play football and look really stupid.
Right.
Like, look at Illinois. Look at Illinois. I mean, they looked, or Nebraska last year, where they just looked terrible all the way around. And then Illinois comes back next week, beats USC. What they have not shown is the ability to win on the road in a hostile environment. And yeah, it was a close game, a very competitive game against Iowa, but they went in there and got the job done. And I feel like that taught me a lot more
Yes.
about IU than the Illinois game did. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think IU is yeah, it's going to be a tight race. Assuming Ohio State's safe, that they're going to win what they're supposed to, and Oregon's probably safe, assuming they can handle IU at home. Yeah, it's going to come down to that Penn State IU for the playoff spot, in my opinion.
I would love to see a home playoff game for IU at Memorial Stadium. I think that would be pretty cool to see in that environment. It could really work to their benefit there. Um, let's switch gears to the SEC. Bama takes down Georgia on the road. This one surprised me because Bama, that first week against Florida State, we thought, oh no, here we go again. They're going to be uh, on the outside looking in of the college football playoff. They had bounced back with some good games the past couple of weeks. We thought things were starting to get back into gear for the Crimson Tide, and then they win this huge game against Georgia. Now, as great as Kirby Smart is, this is the one team that he's always struggled with. It's kind of this narrative that these great coaches always seem to have one team that they that they struggle with, and Bama's the one. And it used to be Nick Saban, and now it's Kalen DeBoer. But I didn't get to see as much of this one and replays of it. What did you think of this game, Bama coming into Georgia and taking
Yeah,
this one?
unexpected for sure, especially considering it was in Athens. I mean, things are looking exactly the same as last year. Alabama beating Georgia, feeling all good, and then who's next on the schedule? Vanderbilt. Difference is Vanderbilt's ranked this year, and DeBoer and Alabama have struggled against unranked teams. It's the ranked teams that they've played pretty well against.
They're going to be
So
taken seriously this time around. I'm telling
yes.
you that much.
So yeah, yeah, huge win for Bama. It's amazing how much the narrative's changed in just the last few weeks after that Florida State debacle. Speaking of Florida State, yeah, I feel like that game against Virginia might get Field Storms banned. Wow, that
It
was
was so
that.
fast. I've never seen a field storm happen so quickly
Yeah,
at the end of the
that
game.
was, and I'm all for field storms, but I mean, there's got to be some regulation on that. Like, I don't want them to ban them, but I mean, you can't have that happen. I'm sorry
It's dangerous. Yeah.
that was just dangerous. I'm assuming that Florida State uh, wide receiver is alive. I mean, we never got a rest in peace post about him, so I'm assuming he's all right. But I mean, that really could have been bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So the top games. One more thing at LSU. Okay, are they a fraud? Because that game against Clemson, we thought was this huge game. Clemson ended up being one of the worst, you know, top teams in the nation, and I just their offense looks awful. Their defense is good, but I just don't think that's going to hold up for a team that we thought might be a top contender.
It's a Brian Kelly coach team. That's all there is to say. Of course, they're going to be relevant at times, but then they'll never be taken seriously by the end of things. Okay, big games this week. Mentioned earlier, Vanderbilt at Alabama. It's two ranked teams. Not a ranked matchup last year. That was that was when Vanderbilt upset Alabama and Nashville. That was a big upset. Another one that's interesting, not as interesting as it was maybe at the beginning of the year, but I still find it interesting for maybe other reasons now, is Texas is finally playing a legitimate opponent again. They're going to Florida. Florida's now unranked, but I mean they've had a tough schedule, and it's not like they're a bad team. They're still a formidable opponent.
Right.
And I'm sure Gainesville will be rocking for this, even though don't have a great record. Texas
They
is
want to
rated
see
9.
Arch Manning sweat. That's for sure.
Yes, and I could see that happening both because of the pressure and because it'll probably be humid down there too. Big 12 action. We got number 11 Texas Tech at Houston. You might just look at that and think, well, that's not an interesting matchup. Well, both teams are undefeated. And it's at Houston. I know, like I mentioned before, we don't really do college spreads too much, but it is interesting that Texas Tech's a 10.5-point favorite here. Might be a little disrespectful to Houston because Houston is pretty good too, in my opinion. But we saw what Texas Tech did to Utah, so they're definitely a legitimate team. And then Miami at Florida State. This game lost a bit of luster because Florida State got upset by Virginia. I mean, that was a tough game. Went to overtime at Virginia, so I still think Florida State's a good opponent.
Yes.
Miami is now up to 3. They are 4.5-point favorites. This game will be at Tallahassee, so the Seminoles will have the home field advantage. But I guess for me, that's the game of the week. Because like I said, Florida State lost, but they're still.
Don't forget, Minnesota's going into the shoe. I think that might be a good one.
Okay, yeah. Ohio State ended Washington's super long home streaks, and they covered. If anyone expected a blowout in that, like Ohio State was just going to run away with that, I was going to tell you were going to be wrong going into the game.
Washington's a good team, and what impressed me is Ohio State's defense. I mean, this is the best defense in the nation, in my opinion. And I know I'm a homer for the Buckeyes, but I don't think we've seen the peak of what the offense could be. I think there's still just a lot that Ryan Day is holding on to in that call sheet, and Ohio State's looked really good. That's all I'm going to say.
And that's also why Archie Manning got way too much crap for that game at Ohio State in his first career road start.
Right.
I mean, come on. Most quarterbacks would look bad in that situation, especially your first road start.